here's the headline greeting me over my toast this morning. Let's see. Russia, Ukraine, latest news. Moscow threatens to cut off West's gas supplies through Nord Stream 1. It says here that Moscow, that's Putin to you and me, is threatening to cut off the West's, that's Germany to you and me, well, mostly, to cut off the gas supply by turning off the taps on the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. For the first time since the invasion of Ukraine, Moscow on Monday suggested it had the full right to stop supplies and warned that oil prices could surge to $300 a barrel. Alexander Novak, Russia's deputy prime minister, said his government had the full right to impose an embargo on gas supplies. He said the decision to shut off Nord Stream 1 has not yet been taken, and the pipeline is currently operating at full capacity. I'll bet it is. How else could the Russians finance their war? Military action. I mean, what else has Russia to sell? When was the last time anyone bought a Russian car? A refrigerator? Computer? Financial services? Even a plane ride? How many of you would feel good about taking a Russian airline to fly somewhere? Oh, that reminds me of a situation that happened to a friend of mine. He was on a Russian airline and he said, and the stewardess came round and said, I'm not going to try the accent. She said, there's a meal coming. And he said, what's the choice? And she said, you eat it or you don't eat it. Anyway, now, at the risk of seeming facetious, what if the Russians really did cut off the gas supply? Well, there's going to be trouble, especially in Germany, for sure. And we can't be smug about it over here in the UK, because although we provide a lot of our own North Sea gas, we do get about a third of our supply from Norway. Now, I'm quite sure that the Germans are, right at this very moment, in preparation for any Russian action, that they're strapping Norwegians down into chairs, directing blinding lights into their eyes, filling syringes with ominous-looking bubbling liquids, and telling them that all the pain will stop if they just sign this little document diverting their available gas to Germany rather than to those Britishers who don't need it anyway because the British can't cook and get most of their food from fish and chip shops. All right. Well, perhaps I'm exaggerating just a little bit there, but I can well see Norway shipping more of its gas to help out the Germans. A 40% reduction in gas supplies is not to be ignored. Even though gas is only about 20% of Germany's energy production, it could really turn into a humanitarian crisis in some sectors because, well, about half of all new build dwellings in Germany right now are heated by natural gas. I do, though, have to remind the German government in their sophisticated suits and frameless spectacles of how they openly chuckled superciliously at Trump when he told them they were depending too much on Russia for their gas supplies. Here, let's just replay this.
Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course. Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers.
I'm sorry, Germany, but as a culture, you need to be less impressed by well-educated men and women in nicely tailored suits. Really. And actually that goes for America as well, because the thing about Trump was he wasn't that sort of sophisticated person. I mean, his suits were fairly well tailored, but he didn't look that well educated or sophisticated. I'm going to be using that word quite a lot recently. And you too are rather impressed by that appearance. And but back to Germany, I'm saying this as someone who's lived in Germany and seen the way that the phone, hang on a minute, sorry, cakes for the stables actually. Yeah, where was I? Was I saying about people being impressed by men and women in nicely tailored suits or something? And I was saying this as someone who's lived in Germany. I might have said that before. And I've seen the way the average person just reduces to a sludge when introduced to someone with the title Herr Professor or Frau Professorin. But I am getting sidetracked. What I wanted to say was that despite the hardships, it would be an excellent idea from the point of view of the German government for Russia to actually cut off the gas supply on their own. That way, it gets countries like Germany and France too off an extremely embarrassing hook. After all, they need the gas. And if they voluntarily make the decision to stop accepting it, everyone will cheer. Oh, we're so moral, right up until the time the central heating shuts down. And when people are sitting hunched over candles in their freezing flats, they're not going to be too happy with a government who's put ethics ahead of keeping the baby warm. However, as I said, if the Russians do that of their own account, well then, the German government's off the hook. And I keep saying the German government, the French government too. Oh yes, that is until the freezing people remember that it was their government that put them into that situation in the first place. But then I suppose the government's all right, because it looks to me like places like the UN and the Bundestag are pretty well heated, aren't they? So they don't have to worry about their sharp suits there. So people, the moral of the story is, and this, by the way, isn't aimed only at the Germans or the French voters. It applies just as much to you guys in America and Australia and wherever you are. When you let yourself be governed by people who've become accustomed to thinking they're better, they're more ethical, and they're more sophisticated than you, you're going to end up rubbing your hands over a candle. All right, so I am Graniopteryx. I am to be found on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. My Twitter, Gab and Parler handle is @Graniopteryx, and I always use those platforms to tell you when I've uploaded a new video. So even if YouTube doesn't tell you, my social media messages will. Okay, remember, click the like button, share the video. Remember to make sure your subscription is still live, and support the channel if you can. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com, and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.